1 minute until showtime.
Yay! Oh, man, my asthmatic grandmother could have done better than that. Holy cow. Now, one more time. Yeah. Yeah, that's good enough. Good enough.
Your show will go live in 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1.
Now, from the world's most famous beach, from where beach racing began, it's the Legends of Racing radio show. Live from racing's original North Turn Beach Bar and Grill in Ponce Inlet, Florida. The Legends of Racing radio show. And your host, Buzz McKim.
Hey! Wow. I'm not worthy. Thank you, everybody. That was great. And we got Rich Combs with us today, and we're having a grand old time stepping back in time with NASCAR. And this guy right here, this is amazing. He's a native Daytonan, and he went to his first Daytona 500 at the age of 5. Is that right?
7.
7. Okay. You remember it?
1975, I do.
Oh, Benny Parsons.
Benny Parsons.
Yeah.
I think I know someone that actually designed that paint scheme on his car that day.
Oh, yeah.
Who was that?
I would do anything for $1 back then. Yeah, I was pretty excited about that.
Kings Row.
Yeah. But we got this guy here. He's are you newly retired from NASCAR? Or have you been retired?
Brand new.
Brand new. I'll be darned. Well, we're going to have to put him to work here for a little bit. Mr. Darrell Wolfe, everybody.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Good to see everybody out there.
So how did you go about getting NASCAR in your portfolio?
Well, that's a long story. I'll keep it very brief. When you're born in Daytona Beach, Florida, I'm a big sports guy. I played sports in high school. I every sport. I follow sports. I watch sports. My kids play sports. Sports is a big part of who I am. I just enjoy it. But when you grow up in Daytona Beach, in addition to your traditional stick and ball sports, racing is part of it, right? That's part of your DNA. It's part of what you're exposed to as a young child, maybe unlike many other children and kids around the country. But here, this is part of the DNA of this and fabric of this community. So my grandfather took me in my first race, Daytona 500 in 1975, we just mentioned, and it was just part of my upbringing and something that I really fell in love with. And I was fortunate enough, even though I went to school and college and all that, and out of college I worked in the financial industry for a little while. I made a transition and made a kind of a career change in kind of the mid-1990s and had a more of an entry-level position at the Speedway, and that led into a 32-year career working in and around this sport and probably every vertical imaginable at NASCAR, and I couldn't be more blessed.
Absolutely. Well, NASCAR was the ones that were blessed. That's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, that's kind of you guys.
You know, earlier he said he didn't fit into the Legends of Racing.
Oh.
All of a sudden, 32 years working for NASCAR?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're a legend.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Don't back off.
We're going to have to get you a shirt.
I don't know. I'm pretty uncomfortable with that term.
Yeah.
Well, we have some legends out here, all types. So we're a little short today because I think it's still summertime, but you know,
they heard I was going to be on the show.
They heard you were on the show. We hope now we'll get you back. Yeah, we'll have you in the audience.
Yes, indeed. Yeah. So, what was your first job at NASCAR?
Oh, wow. I worked part-time in the ticketing and credentials office.
Did you really?
And I only got that job. I was, like I said, working in the financial industry at the time. But I had such a passion for the Speedway and racing, and I was exposed to it, like I said, at such an early age. Somebody told me about a part-time job out there. Mm-hmm. And sure enough, in my part-time, I'd go out there and work, and holy cow, it just talk about legends. I mean, I was working in the credential office, and the legends of the sport, people that I idolized as a young man and a kid, walking through the door and talking to me. I was like, are you kidding? I mean, it's Richard Petty, and that's Dale Sr., and that's Neil Bonnet, and I was like, whoa. And you try not to be starstruck. In my entire career, you run into a lot of legends, but also a lot of entertainment and celebrities and personalities, and you try not to be starstruck. But somebody said to me at one point in time, that has always stuck with me, is how many people in their lifetime get to become friends with some of their childhood heroes.
Oh boy, yes sir.
And I did that.
Yeah.
And that has always stuck with me. How amazing is that? So anyway, I worked in the credentials office part-time, and then that led into, I've always been one of those people that, if you tell me to work 8 hours, I'm going to work 10 hours. My wife's out here. She'd tell you the same thing. And if you're going to work 10 hours, I'm going to work 12 hours. I just like to work. I like to outwork people. I like to work, especially when you're passionate about something. You really find a deep inner spirit to you that's going to really work. And of course that led into, obviously, because they saw my work ethic, they offered me a full-time position to Speedway, and then that led into a series of positions over 32 years.
Amazing. What was your favorite position?
Wow, they're so different. A funny story was I went over to the PR department initially, and I was put in charge of media promotions. I was the first person to update our websites in
Really?
the entire company.
I'll be darned.
Our 3 tracks, whether it's Daytona, whether it's Darlington, Talladega, even Tucson Raceway Park, I was updating
Wow.
race results from there. I did that. I did records. I did a bunch of record keeping for the PR department. They just kind of gave me a bunch of stuff because I was the only guy in the department, candidly, would stick around to 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night, be working. Hey, we'll give it to Daryl. He'll do it. And that's what I did.
And were you single back then?
I was no. We just recently married.
Oh wow. Well,
that was just before marriage. Before marriage. And then that led into why I was chuckling when you asked me that question. I didn't have a PR background.
Oh, really?
I went to school for got a financial degree. So I worked with numbers, and immediately they had me writing press releases, and I was dealing with words. I went from numbers to words like overnight.
Oh boy!
It's like I'm not prepared for this, but I figured it out. And then from there, I went to a corporate role in 1998. Because we were opening up 2 new facilities. We were building Kansas Speedway and Chicagoland Speedway in Kansas City, Kansas, and Joliet, Illinois. And they wanted a sales guy to go out there and lead the commercial efforts for those 2 tracks.
Really?
My name surfaced.
Wow.
I had interviewed for the position. They gave it to me. I had 0 sales experience.
You're kidding.
So I just, over my career, they kept thrusting me into these roles I didn't have experience for, but they knew 2 things. One, I'd work my tail off. And the second thing is I'd figure it out. So that led to a bunch of different positions.
That's awesome. That's really neat. Now, did you work side by side with Bill Jr. at all?
I did. And Buzz, I think you and I had a brief conversation about this. In the NASCAR ecosystem today, across the industry, probably more so, but in the NASCAR proper company, I bet you I could count less than 10 people in the company that had direct memories interaction with Bill Jr. I'm one of them.
Wow.
And I have terrific memories of him busting my butt sometimes, teaching me tons of lessons, tapping into his expertise. Got tremendous memories of that.
Yeah, really. Boy, that's something. Yeah, he had a way of getting his point across, didn't he?
Yes, he did.
Yeah, and he could teach a lesson or two, couldn't he?
By the way he looked at you.
Oh, yeah.
In addition to what he said to you.
Yeah. I found as he got older, he got less and less intimidating, but still you wanted to keep on his happy side. Absolutely.
Yeah, and Jim France the same way. Jim and Bill are different. The brothers obviously have a different leadership styles.
Right.
But gosh, they are so wicked smart and business smart and intuitive when it comes to business decisions. But they had different styles about how they communicated those decisions. And I'm so fortunate because I had so many terrific memories of Bill Jr. imparting wisdom and knowledge on me, but also Jim France. So I've had the best of and Lisa Kennedy, of course, is in there, and Brian France is in there. They're all in there, but I've had terrific memories and terrific experiences with them all.
Yeah, it's amazing the people, generation after generation, they're so brilliant. And even Ben Kennedy, he's coming along well, and he's just another one that is just off the charts as far as brains.
Ben, I just have so many wonderful things to say about Ben Kennedy. And my office sat next to Ben Kennedy for a number of years, and in fact, I when he was starting his racing career, he was in my office as a little boy, basically talking about sponsorship and how does he get sponsorship for his go-kart. And so I've watched him grow up, and what a tremendous young man, and what he's turned into from an executive. I mean, to your point, young man, racer, family member, but he is a potent, effective executive.
Mm-hmm.
He's incredible.
Yeah, and for his age too. And I was amazed when I went to work there at the archives recently. They have a whole section of Ben Kennedy trophies and uniforms and all kinds of stuff. I had no idea he was so successful driving. He was a whale of a driver. And it's just amazing the number of trophies and the races he's won and everything.
Won a truck series race at Bristol.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, you bring up a lot of stories, memories for me. And, NASCAR is all about people and meeting your heroes and meeting the people that you admire and see. And you've been there. And as you were telling that story, I was thinking, my wife, we were, usually wives in this game, they sort of go along with the program, racing, they're listening to it, but you never know how deeply they're involved. And my wife and I were in Charlotte, and we were in the infield, and we were walking around in the pits there. She's just walking and looking, and she says, "There's Richard Petty." Wham! And he was leaning up against the garage is what he was doing. She runs to him and talks to him. Of course, he's the nicest guy in the world, and it's that type of thing that's happened all through NASCAR, and you're bringing it out. You're seeing it from a working side inside, but the rest of us people are seeing it from the outside. So
there's
great.
Tremendous personalities and people, and the common thread across the sport is, and of course you have pockets, you have disagreements and litigation sometimes, all that stuff. But at its core, I always said to myself, what I loved about the industry in NASCAR was that everyone had this little chip on their shoulder about the other major sports, right? Okay, you're not the NFL, not the NBA, whatever. Viewership numbers are strong and sponsorship strong, but everyone had this kind of unwritten little chip on their shoulder to say, but we're NASCAR, and we are a major sport, and we're going to do the right things, and we're going to interact with the fans, and we're going to come together, and we're going to make strong decisions about the growth of the sport. So I think what you're describing, Rich, is this kind of unwritten rule among the industry members that even though we'll have our arguments and we'll disagree, we're in this together, and we're in this together to grow the sport, and that means having those personal interactions.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting to hear people criticize NASCAR. It seems like everything they do, there's going to be criticism, but it shows that they care and that they consider it their sport, and they don't want anybody messing with their sport. But I think for the most part, everything's very positive. And, going to the different road courses and all that sort of thing, going to Mexico, now going to San Diego, and the dirt on Bristol, and, all the progressive things that have happened over the last several years in NASCAR kind of broke up the monotony, if you will.
Well, the whole thing is,
I agree.
We've all entered NASCAR at different times, and there's been different phases of racing and how the operation was run. And your phase.
Mm-hmm.
And when a change is made for the next phase, you don't like it.
Oh,
We don't like change. And so all the bitching and moaning and groaning is all about the fact it's not what you started out with, but the next group will love it, and it gets better and better.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I love that you guys are hitting on this note and kind of this topic, because it's an important topic, and I'm sure people in your audience feel the same way. There's some people like to chase. People don't like to chase. Some people like stage races. Some people don't like stage races. Some people like that we race in Chicago street course. Some people don't. NASCAR has a very difficult job, just like any leaders of any sport, is that you're trying to grow the sport, and you have to make tough decisions. And those decisions aren't always going to be popular of certain segments of the fan base, right? But that's hard. That's a very difficult thing. And like you said about, phases of, my NASCAR wasn't like that back then. Well, I get that, but sometimes we're not immune to making very poor decisions, right? And there's poor, but at least when you fail, you got to recognize you fail and then change it and move on. But the one common thing that we always believed in, I certainly believed in, was you can't stand still. Because if you don't change and you don't innovate and you don't try new things, you will get passed. And I think that's what the leadership of NASCAR is constantly trying to do. Understanding is going to make some people angry.
Yeah. Well, Bill Jr. used to say that too. Everything is either moving ahead or moving back.
Yeah.
And if you stay still, then you got problems.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing that happens is we've got one heck of a fan base, but probably 1% looks at NASCAR as a business. They don't think of it as a big, sprawling enterprise and is trying to do all the things they can. It's the sport. It's like the Little League team down the street. That's my team. I'm going to the ballpark, you know. But in reality, they need to look at it as a business.
Yeah.
And that's why you're there. You're making business decisions for a sport, not you don't pick the drivers, you don't pick the tires.
Yeah.
How we're going to operate this.
And I'll tell you, people agonize over those decisions. It's not like somebody flips a coin in an office, a corner office. Whatever, it's heads or tails. I mean, lots of research, lots of discussion, lots of debate, lots of agony over what are the right decisions, and that's why they're tough. Those decisions are very difficult.
Yeah, for sure. And but it's in constant flux, though. I mean, it's constantly moving and changing. And some folks might not think it's for the better, but some folks might think it's fantastic.
That's right. And you're constantly trying to make sure the core fan that's been a fan of the sport for decades feels included and feels appreciated.
Yep.
But again, you can't grow unless you attract new fans.
Yeah.
You got to understand what those new fans may be interested in as well. Like Chicago street racing, a core fan may hate the idea of racing on the streets of Chicago.
Yeah.
Well, 70-some% or more were new fans that came out to watch that race in Chicago. How else are you going to try to get them attracted to the sport?
Yeah, right. And like going to Mexico, that was great. I mean, what business doesn't want to broaden its fan base? And if you can go ahead and get the Latin fan involved, why not? I mean, that's great. And get that fan base broadened out.
It's building customers.
Yep.
That's what we call them, customers. You say fan base, they're customers because they're paying dollars.
You betcha.
With that being said,
well, we got to come back to that.
Okay, I want you to show that.
Okay, we got a break, and we'll be right back with Darrell Wolfe, everybody.
The caution flag is out. Time for a break. We'll be right back with the Legends of Racing radio show. At Beach Boys Embroidery and Tees, it's all about making you happy. Beach Boys Embroidery can customize your athletic golf apparel, caps, hats, badges, buttons, magnets, backpacks, bags, totes, clocks, watches, and of course, T-shirts. Sure, they're at 2033 South Ridgewood Avenue in South Daytona, and they're waiting for you to call now. 386-255-5880. Beach Boys Embroidery and Tees. Let Aloha Marine get you on the water with huge discounts on great brands like Bayliner, Carolina Skiff, Hurricane, Key West, and Regal. Pay as little as $169 a month with 10% down and approved credit. Don't wait. Get to Aloha Marine, 1700 North Nova Road, Holly Hill, Monday through Saturday. 47 years and always better than boat show prices. We're back from where it all began, racing's original North Turn Beach Bar and Grill. The Legends of Racing radio show continues with your host, Buzz McKim.
Wow, thank you very much, everybody. And Rich Combs is here, and we thank everyone out there looking in. We thank you for taking time out of your day to see what we're up to. We hope we entertain you, and you can't beat the price. Right?
That's right.
Exactly. Yeah, this segment's being brought to you locally by Staples on International Speedway Boulevard. Anything for the office, they can hook you up. And if you want to look on us, if you want to watch us on the internet, you can go to Legends of Racing Radio Show Facebook page, which you'll see an hour later, or you can watch us live on the Legends of Racing Radio Show YouTube page. So there's a couple different ways you can check us out there. And you were talking about this right here, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a 1989 Cup from Daytona.
Yep, thanks to Doc Batzler. He brought it in, and he's always bringing something in. I don't know where he finds this stuff, but there's a picture. It looks like Cale Yarborough's car, but it's number 49 and not number 29. And so this here, it's Great Collectible Cup, and in this yellow splash here, it says refills 49 cents. Holy cow. When have you ever gotten anything at a Speedway for 49 cents?
1989. That's when you could get it.
Yeah, that's right, 1989.
Old DW won that 500.
That's right. Yeah, he sure did. Yeah, and he did the Icky Shuffle.
He did. Yes, he did.
Lane. He'd been trying for years and years. He almost won in '79. He came in second behind Richard Petty after Donnie and Bobby smashed up, and then Donnie, Bobby, and Cale smashed up. And then 10 years later, he finally won the 500, and he was one happy fella.
Yes, he was.
Yeah, really something. You know what's interesting too? On that car, Tide had just come out with a new bleach formula, and the Tide lettering was white instead of the blue, and it just didn't show up very well. And here he won the biggest race of his career, and the lettering was okay, but it didn't have the impact of having blue letters on the car. I see a painter would know that.
Yes, you would.
Yeah.
Great point, Buzz.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. So talking about money in racing, the seventh place finisher in the Daytona 500 nowadays would make somewhere around $600,000 to $650,000 roughly. NASCAR doesn't release the numbers, but that's pretty close to what they'd win for seventh place, not even winning the race. If you go back in time to 1941 when they raced on the beach, the fellow who finished seventh place won 3 pairs of socks. So things have definitely changed. 3 pairs of socks.
Refills.
Free refills, yeah. Yeah, didn't even have to pay for the refills. So you've seen so many changes over the years. To you, what is the biggest change?
Wow. Just as a 4-hour show?
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, I think, I guess I would say over the last 25 years, I don't want to go back further than that. I think there's 3 bigger business moments, and again, I'm talking about the business side of it. I understand that, but I think the fans see the business side of it,
right.
or see the results of the business side of it. Is one, the consolidation of TV rights leading into the 2001 season was a monumental thing, a lot of work. A lot of behind-the-scenes effort to get that done. That really pumped a lot more revenue into the sport, a lot more money for all stakeholders, not just NASCAR, but race teams and everyone. The second thing was the track acquisition spree. Probably around that same time, we think about ISC buying Penske Motorsports, they did 4 tracks, building Kansas, building Chicagoland Speedway, acquiring Richmond, acquiring Martinsville, acquiring Homestead. Back then, Homestead was owned by, if you recall, Homestead was owned 45% Penske, 45% ISC, and 10% Wayne Huizenga.
Oh, really?
I don't know if people realize that.
Oh.
And then so we bought Homestead Miami Speedway. We acquired the rest from Corning Corp on Watkins Glen, which we're obviously racing there this weekend. And then, of course, the Speedway Motorsports was on their massive acquisition spree as well. So you had and then you had the companies going public to the influx of capital to go on those acquisition sprees, right? So the public companies came and emerged around that period of time. I worked on the public company side for many, many years, and that leads me to a good segue into my third point was the consolidation of the industry. And when we privatized the public company back in 2017, merged it with 2019 maybe, merged it with NASCAR. To the fan, to the average fan watching race on TV, that meant nothing. To the health and the future of the sport, it was everything.
Yeah.
Because going down the public company route and the private company, not being able to make fundamental long-term decisions was, I hate to say it, you talked about schedule evolution a second ago, and stuff, the changes that we needed to make, we were hamstrung and we couldn't make that because when you have these public companies in the industry, not to get too deep here, you're making those decisions quarter to quarter, and bottom line is your shareholders and your board of directors, especially the independent ones, are saying, okay, you're not going to race at Richmond twice. What's that going to do to your earnings? And you argue, well, it's going to there's a long-term effect. It's going to multiply into a really strong position for the sport long-term. If it's not accretive immediately, then we don't want you to do it. So you're really hamstrung with some really decisions that we all knew we needed to make long-term for the health of the sport. So we collapsed the public companies, and again, to the average fan sitting on the couch, that means obviously nothing. They just want to see who's going to win the race. To the business people inside the sport, that was a monumental decision for the success you're seeing today, and we'll see 10 years and 20 years down the road because of those decisions. So
would that affect sponsorship?
Sponsorship, absolutely.
Mhm.
You can make some long-term decisions around sponsorship. The NASCAR Cup Series came into existence as opposed to the NASCAR Winston Cup Series, the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series, the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series because of that decision.
Right.
We could, because it's better for the sport to not have necessarily a brand attached to the top of the sport for average fans,
Yeah.
Mhm.
because they were confused. What, Xfinity Series? Winston, I mean, Sprint Series, all of these things.
Yeah.
So Jim wanted, and he charged me to do this, and our team to go out there and make sure that we could build a model that did not have a corporate brand, even though corporate sponsors are incredibly important to us. But at the top of the sport, instead of having Sprint or Nextel or Monster Energy, have a more clean look.
Mhm.
And the whole reason we were able to do the NASCAR Cup Series and create that kind of more Olympic model sponsorship was because of the merger.
Is that right?
So that's one example of many examples of what, and schedule evolution and innovation, going to Chicago Street and these places were because of the merger. So
Mhm.
a lot of really important decisions today and 10 years and 20 years down the road was because of that.
I'll be darned. That's something.
I'm amazed.
Yeah.
This
It's
is something
incredible.
I haven't heard. I hadn't thought about.
Uh-huh. And the average fan would have no idea what's going on.
Yeah.
But what it's doing is solidifying the future of the sport.
Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting.
Well, again, back
Interesting.
to new fans. If you had a new fan sitting right there and said, and they watched the sport for the first time, you could understand how it get confusing. Okay, am I watching? What's the Craftsman Truck Series, Xfinity Series, this and that? Well, the top of our sport is the NASCAR Cup Series, and the first thing in those three letters or three words is what? NASCAR.
Yeah.
That's what you want them to hear first
Yeah.
is NASCAR, not. No disrespect to our friends at Monster Energy. Monster Energy. You want them to hear NASCAR. And Jim France was all over this from day one, that new fans need to hear our brand first. And he charged us, and I was fortunate at the time leading the team to go get that done.
Mm-hmm. Golly.
Well, that's what I see from that. Looking at all forms of racing over a long period of time, there was a competition with NASCAR and all their other competitors being series for racing, and that's sort of gone away. That's coming to the fans. You've got a program here and you've got a program here, but you no longer see that competitive nature. They've found their own place and they're growing within that, and that's I can see that happening.
I think you do have the industry kind of marching to the same drum beat a little bit more now, and that's super important as well.
Well, we also have to realize that NASCAR's had good, strong leadership from day one. The rest of the world, even Formula One, they haven't had the best leadership. They've made some really stupid moves and gone in the wrong direction, and we've backed up, and they get halfway in the season and have to start apologizing, and that's what you're not doing. You've got it handled. So thank you.
Yeah. That's something. It's so interesting, the inner workings of the sport. And the average fan wouldn't have any idea, but when you stop and think about it and how it's evolved, it just makes sense, and it kept you on your toes.
Well, and let's talk about another major change. That again, if you're divided as a fan, right? Maybe you're an avid core fan versus a new fan. Schedule innovation, Buzz. You mentioned it a second ago. The days, and again, no disrespect to these racetracks, because the racetracks reported into me for a while. I love every one of them. They're incredible facilities, but the same schedule, rinse and repeat every single year.
Right.
What drives interest in regards to consumers, especially casual fans, is storylines.
Yeah.
You may not be a huge NFL fan, but if there's a marquee matchup of two marquee quarterbacks, you might tune in because there's a storyline behind it. Well, schedule evolution, just like Coronado and the Naval Base race, it's new, it's exciting, and you may get people to tune in, and the ratings prove this out, that more people would tune in because it's something new and unique. If you're doing the same thing every single year for 25 years straight, you can imagine there's a staleness to it. So it's super important that we do stuff like that.
Yeah, I like the fact that the innovation is just really neat, and every year there's something new, and I can't wait to see how that San Diego track works out, and going back to Chicagoland too. That's awful nice.
Man, we've been back there in a long time.
Yeah. What, 2012, I think, is the last time they ran there? Somewhere around there.
I'm not going to argue with the historian to my right.
I'm just saying. Yeah, you talked about making sure that you take care of the older fans too. And we got a break coming up, but we'll talk about the throwback weekend at Darlington and whose idea that was, and how well it's worked out. And to me, it's one of the coolest things that you could do all year long. Most definitely. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back with Darrell Waltrip, the other, Darrell Wolfe, the other.
The caution flag is out. Time for a break. We'll be right back with the Legends of Racing radio show. Racing's original North Turn is our broadcast headquarters. If you're looking for a good drink, great entertainment, and the best in food, they're right on the beach at Racing's original North Turn. Come on down to dinner tonight. Here are a couple of testimonials. These are actual testimonials from people who have enjoyed the North Turn. Been there many times, always great food and drinks, great location on the beach. And another, what a great experience. It's my new favorite restaurant in the Daytona Beach area, Racing's original North Turn on South Atlantic Avenue. That's A1A in Ponce Inlet, about 3.2 miles south of the Dunlawton Bridge and A1A intersection. It's Racing's original North Turn, a restaurant, museum, bar, gift shop, live music. That's Racing's North Turn. Racing's original North Turn has been voted by you best beach bar top 10 year after year after year. We're back from where it all began. Racing's original North Turn Beach Bar and Grill. The Legends of Racing radio show continues with your host, Buzz McKim.
Oh, thank you, everybody. We do appreciate that. Rich Combs is here with us today, along with Darrell Wolfe, the other DW.
The less important DW.
Yeah. This segment is being brought to you locally by Daytona Flea and Farmers Market, voted one of the top 5 markets in the country by USA Weekend. Visit our Shop Now network and our Shop Now at Daytona Flea and Farmers Market Facebook page for the latest in vendor tours. And it's Tony time. Hey, Tony. All right. What you got, buddy?
Well, I got 2 questions, actually. Darrell, your and Buzz's careers at NASCAR overlap. You got any Buzz stories?
Oh, jeez.
Good ones.
I tried to keep a low profile.
I thought that was an entire segment for the second half of the show.
You're recently retired NASCAR. It's kind of a retirement question. Periodically, these stories or some comes up with NASCAR ought to retire numbers. Of course, the 3, the 43, the 11, and then it kind of goes down from there. I'm guessing that gets discussed periodically. Other sports do it. What's the thoughts from NASCAR on that?
Well, it's a great question, and I think it goes back to what we were talking about earlier in the show, right? The difficult decisions, right? You know, you can get on either side of this argument. You know, you should do it. I mean, the legends of the sport, the greatest of the great, the 1% of the 1% of the 1%. When you think about Dale Sr., Richard Petty, these guys, should you retire? I could certainly get on that side.
Yeah.
The other side, you know, we have limited numbers. The team, the number sometimes is associated with the team as much as a driver in some cases, right? And maybe that's a way to honor that driver in the future, as opposed to tucking away in the corner on a banner somewhere. So you can get on that side. So yes, the short answer is those types of conversations are discussed. The harder part is making the right decision. And I think that the majority inside have leaned toward not doing it for the kind of the latter reasons I mentioned. You know, again, those decisions are going to make some people happy and some people not happy.
Yeah, thank you, Tony. Appreciate that. Yeah, the only number that NASCAR has ever retired was in the modified division, number 61 for Richie Evans. And that was the only time they retired a number. And, you know, like 43, well, here Legacy is still using 43. Childress is still using 3. And then you've got Denny Hamlin with the 11, which was the most winningest number in the history of NASCAR. It was number 11. It wasn't 43. 11 has so many championships and all that, and then the different wins from the different drivers.
Junior Johnson wins there.
Oh, boy, 6 championships. Amazing.
Yep.
Yeah, between Cal and DW. And it's really something. But, yeah, a lot of people wonder about that. Why didn't they go ahead and retire Earnhardt's number? Well, I think NASCAR was thinking, we only have so many numbers anyway. We can't start the process of retiring them.
Which is a good segue to what you were mentioning before the break was on the throwback weekend.
Yeah. Yeah. So speaking of the throwback weekend, anybody like the throwback weekend? Huh? Isn't
Hey.
that awesome? To me, that's the coolest thing ever. And guess whose idea it was? This guy right here. And I was so tickled when they came out with that. And it was a big weekend for the Hall of Fame, too. We go down there with as many Hall of Famers as we could gather up. And we bring special people in. And it was just a really, really neat deal. And it's still a neat deal. And then Xfinity got involved in it. And it's quite a deal there. And how did that come about? Is that something that you wanted to see personally?
Yeah, so let me give you a little background. And again, I could another topic I could talk for days on and bore you guys to tears. A couple things all converged here. One, I do love the history of the sport. You know that, Buzz. I'm not a student of it like you are, obviously, but I do love the history of the sport and I feel like I do have a good understanding of it. Darlington's a special place. We went through I forget the year we did this. Went through a branding exercise of all of our racetracks. A very detailed branding exercise to understand what does Kansas Speedway mean from a brand perspective versus Daytona versus Martinsville versus Darlington versus Talladega and on the list goes and on. As you can imagine, Daytona's pretty easy. Darlington's pretty easy. Kansas, those places more difficult, right? Less shorter history, you know, all those reasons. So we went through the Darlington exercise, and like I said, it's a pretty easy exercise, what it stands for, you know, all the term Lady in Black and original Super Speedway, all the history and all that. So we created a marketing campaign around kind of the historical attributes of Darlington, not losing sight of, you can't live in the past, you got to move forward and think about modernization of the facility and all those things. And it was all part of a master plan and capital plan, a really detailed exercise to go through Darlington. So the two things I just mentioned, that exercise combined with kind of my appreciation for the history of sport, I started thinking about looking at other sports. You know, all these other sports have some kind of throwback going on. You know, throwback uniform, throwback helmets, throwback whatever. It's like, wait a minute. You know, we do. I mean, you have the occasional paint scheme to throw back to Tony's question about retiring numbers. You know, you have occasional throwback scheme to Richard Petty or Dale Senior or something like that at various racetracks. I said, but why can't we do something cool at scale? And really create a really cool weekend. And so I went to, and I won't get into who or when, but I went to track president at the time. We just had a conversation, and that person didn't really see the vision behind it.
Yep.
So I took my little white paper that I drafted and kind of the concept of what I wanted to create there, and I kind of put it in a drawer. I was a bit frustrated with that. And then some organizational changes happened. And Chip Weil, which I know you guys have had on the show, and obviously is a NASCAR executive now and ran Daytona for a while, got promoted from MRN Radio over to be the president of Darlington Raceway. So I opened my little drawer out, one of my first meetings, pulled out my little piece of paper, or really whatever. We just had a conversation about the concept. And unlike some previous conversations, Chip got it immediately. And let me tell you something. That dude went to work. He was in Charlotte almost every week, meeting with race teams. Sometimes I would go to some of these meetings. Most of the meetings were Chip and his staff really had to sell the concept of what this vision is.
You figure it would be a natural.
You would think it would be natural, but we heard a lot, and I sat in some of these meetings, and we had a bunch of meetings in Daytona. Some of the response was, well, my sponsor's not going to go for that. I'm not going to change my paint scheme, and nobody, you know, that race team's not going to get on board. I'm not going to get on board. It's more like, if they don't do it, I'm not going to do it. It's kind of this mentality a little bit, and I'm not trying to be negative. It's just that we met some resistance. And, you know, Chip and his team, and Chip, if he was here, he'd give a lot of credit to his team. They went up there and worked their butts off to sell this concept in the first year. And then I remember having a conversation with Goodyear saying, hey, Goodyear, can we change the yellow lettering on the Goodyear Eagles to white lettering to go back in time? And in many cases, Goodyear, as an example, was like, you don't need to say another word. We're in 100%.
Oh, my.
Many other conversations, kind of like, I'm going to wait and see. I don't know if I want to do that. Long story short, I'm going to fast forward because I could bore you with all the details. There's literally, Buzz and Rich, hundreds of these conversations over the period of maybe a year and a half or whatever. And we thought we were going to get, you know, at first we were getting like 20% participation and 30%. Before we know it, you know, we're a couple months out, and Chip and kind of were comparing notes and what him and his team had done. We're like, holy cow, this thing is catching fire. And then all of a sudden in the Cup field, we went from having like 10, you know, special throwback paint schemes to like, I think we ended up like 30 or 32 or some crazy number.
Wow.
Goodyear's got the white, Goodyear Eagles. Fox is in the booth with their throwback, or was it NBC? I can't remember at the time. Their throwback gear.
Yeah.
They got Ken Squire in the booth, and I think maybe Ned Jarrett was in the booth at the time.
I think Ned was there.
This thing is snowballing, and then it happened, and Chip deserves a tremendous amount of credit. The people at Darlington Raceway deserve a tremendous amount of credit. The race teams deserve a tremendous. They're the ones that really made the idea, the light bulb maybe idea that we talked about really come to life. And to your point, I sat back that evening after the race. I think I might have flown home with Jim or somebody. I can't remember who it was, or Mike Helton. And I had a grin ear to ear on my face because it came off.
Yeah.
And people bought in, and fans loved it, and the ratings spiked, and the race teams were excited, and the Wood brothers had their full gear on in the pits.
Gosh.
It was amazing.
Yep.
It was amazing. I could talk on about it for a long time.
Well,
Yep.
the good part is the race teams themselves bought into the deal.
Mm-hmm.
And now before that weekend, now you hear all the teams talking about it. It's all, what are you going to do? Hey, and Dale Jr. is one of the big ones that are always talking on this and highlighting the different schemes that are going back, and that helps. But they could have been against you the whole time, and you couldn't have got it in, and they came forward.
They sure did.
Yeah,
They sure did.
deal.
We're going to take another quick break. We'll be right back with Darrell Wolfe. Just a minute.
The caution flag is out. Time for a break. We'll be right back with the Legends of Racing radio show. Daytona Flea and Farmers Market is still the one for great savings and the best variety. Whether you need flowers and trees for your home or you're looking for great prices on Daytona Beach souvenirs, the market is the place to go. The market features 1,000 booths, 2 air-conditioned malls, a restaurant, and 9 snack shacks. Hops Grill features gourmet burgers and garden blend salads. Treat yourself to a great variety of brat and hot dog creations at the Dog House, or enjoy a refreshing drink at the Seltzer Oasis. The market is open every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and is 90% undercover, so you can shop rain or shine. There's never a charge for parking or admission. Enjoy our monthly classic car cruise-in on the first Saturday of every month, and garage sale weekend, the third weekend of every month. See all we have to offer at DaytonaFleaMarket.com or like us on Facebook. Discover Daytona's most unique shopping experience, the Daytona Flea and Farmers Market, just a mile west of the Speedway. We're back from where it all began, racing's original North Turn Beach Bar and Grill. The Legends of Racing radio show continues with your host, Buzz McKim.
Thank you, Olin. Appreciate that. And we got Rich Combs here, and we got what's his face? The other DW, right?
Darrell and his other brother, Darrell.
There you go.
Right?
Exactly.
Never heard that joke before.
No, I'm sure. Well, this segment's being brought to you locally by the Homewood Suites by Hilton, right on Bill France Boulevard, around the corner from the Speedway. And every room is a suite, and they have complimentary breakfast, complimentary happy hour, and it's a really nice place, and they're good people. And if you have anyone coming to town, you want to kind of show off a little bit, get them hooked up with the Homewood Suites by Hilton. Is there any place we haven't raced yet that you would like to see race?
Like a historic track or just a
Just whatever.
how about 10 yards from here?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, wouldn't that be awesome, huh?
I doubt that could be possible today.
Yeah, I think the county would have something to say
I think
about
the
that.
county and others would have something. There's many reasons why we couldn't do it, but how cool would that be?
Oh,
man,
yeah.
It'd be awesome. Fantastic. Yes, sir, that would be super duper. 134 cars here in 1953. And can you imagine that? It must have been a barrel of monkeys.
Yes.
I think Buzz was trying to slip a question under the table to you.
Okay.
What are the new and opening markets you're looking at? That's really what he wants to know.
I think the easy answer to that question, even though I can't really speak directly on behalf of Ben Kennedy and his scheduling team anymore. I was a member on that team for many, many years, but I think the answer is everywhere. That's within reason, right? If it's a market that's underserved based on research and based on what we think can grow the sport, then we'd be silly, or they would be silly not to look at it. You mentioned Mexico City earlier. Went to Mexico City. Maybe other international markets may make sense. But it goes back to what's the kind of strategic plan for the sport. How is the sport going to grow? And then you kind of back into looking at data to suggest what markets that we currently aren't in make sense. Or it may not be market-driven, it's maybe more venue-driven. So Chicago is important, but it's also a street race. Never done a street race before, right? So that was interesting. Naval base concept in Coronado, that's a concept. It's also an underserved market, so it hits two criteria.
Sure.
But you also look at things that's going to create, MLB just had a baseball game at Bristol, right?
Yeah.
Why did they do that? And unfortunately, it rained out and all that. I get that. But why did they do that? Like we talked earlier. It created storylines. It created something new and different to bring in maybe non-fans into watching this game at Bristol.
Yep.
NASCAR's no different. They're looking to create storylines and interest. And so to your question, Rich, I think really anything's on the table.
Yeah.
You think they'll ever go to Canada? If there's such a strong fan base up there.
Well, the other series race there.
Yeah.
I think there is a strong fan base there. I think if it meets strategically what NASCAR is trying to do from a growth strategy standpoint, the answer is yes. If other opportunities maybe meet those criteria more effectively, then the answer would be no.
Yeah.
I think it really's got to fit into what they're trying to accomplish.
What's the latest on the California Speedway? Have you heard anything? Are they going to go ahead and build that track, or is it just going to sit there and do nothing?
I think the last thing is, really what they've said publicly is just that right now that is on pause.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. It's on pause.
Because that's such an important market, that LA market.
But San Diego, that will meet a little bit the Southern California market, so that will help.
Sure.
A lot of good fans out there too.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh,
yeah. There's more tracks in California than any other racetrack, or any other state. And we did a breakdown of the when I was up at the Hall of Fame of the California tracks, and there's a bunch of them, and there's more drivers from California than any other, more Cup drivers from California, believe it or not. It's really something.
Well, California is a very rich state in terms of racing, and it always has been, and we see that even with some of the people coming to this show.
Yeah, sure.
Of making that statement. I think the culture and the people are somewhat different than what's going to be in Daytona. So what you can do and how you attract them is a job for you that's amazing. How do you get those people into there? And I guess the California Speedway, we've all been there, and that's not the easiest place in the world to get to, but it's a grand facility, and that's big. When you sit in those stands, it's something else going on there that we don't see somewhere else. I mean, if you're in Daytona and you're in the stands, you feel like you're there. You're part of it.
Yep.
Something just doesn't work there, and I don't know what it is, but
interesting.
Well, I think it's a long distance from downtown LA. That's one, and LA is a very important market to NASCAR. Obviously, Southern California is a very important market to NASCAR. But racing in Fontana, you could argue that even though it's part of the metro area of LA, it's what, 50 miles away from downtown LA with traffic.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It can take you a lot longer than 50 miles when you think about it. 2-hour drive, maybe longer. So it had a set of challenges. Back to your point, Rich, a beautiful facility into racing. There was great heritage, good race fans out there. But NASCAR needs to figure that out. Went to the Coliseum, 3 years. Had a clash there. Downtown LA, very cool event, storyline, something new, different. Now Coronado is going to come on the schedule. So they're trying to figure out the Southern California strategy. It's just these decisions are complex.
And I'm sure Coronado has a really big vintage race, and it's mainly Trans Am cars. That is well attended. It's big.
Really?
Yeah. So they're walking into something that's already set for them.
Oh, that's great.
And what a beautiful backdrop. Gorgeous.
I was telling Tony the other day at breakfast, what would be better than to go to Coronado and stay at the Coronado Hotel, for that race? I mean, wow, you got the beach right in front of you, you got the racetrack right behind you. It's
Yeah, that's for sure.
it's a great view.
Yep.
Grand
Very
spectacle.
good. Yeah, who was ahead of PR when you worked over there? Was Hunter?
Well, at the Speedway, or are you talking about at NASCAR?
NASCAR. I
So
think that was before Jim Hunter, wasn't it?
well, it was before Jim. When I started, and Jim was a mentor of mine.
Mm-hmm.
He was the president of Darlington Raceway.
Oh, okay.
And then he transitioned or moved over to NASCAR corporate. I forget what year that was. Bill wanted him down there.
Yeah, probably 01, right after Earnhardt.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think it was right after Earnhardt's
Yeah.
death. But yeah, Jim, what a guy! What a personality he was!
Oh,
Holy cow! You talk about learning really important lessons on the PR side. I could spend days with him, and I did spend a lot of time with him and listen to him and his wisdom and the way and how authentic he was and how respected he was and how candid he was and. I mean, he could say anything. I mean, I'd be afraid to say some of the stuff that he said, and people just gravitated toward him. And I mean that just when I say he could say anything, he's just very blunt and very candid and very direct about his thoughts, and people just gravitated that because he was so authentic. And
he was the only guy that could smoke in his office.
did do that.
It shows you how much clout he had. Another quick break here. We'll be right back with Darrell Wolfe, everybody.
Hey!
The caution flag is out. Time for a break. We'll be right back with the Legends of Racing radio show. Welcome to Homewood Suites by Hilton in Daytona Beach. You're right in the middle of all the action. Daytona International Speedway, the airport, One Daytona, Florida's newest entertainment and retail destination, and of course, the world's most famous beach. You'll love our newly remodeled 1 and 2 bedroom suites, along with our popular King Studios. You won't need your full kitchen, as Homewood Suites Daytona serves up complimentary breakfast and evening social. It's like home away from home. Go to HomewoodDaytona.com for Homewood Suites by Hilton in Daytona Beach. We're back from where it all began. Racing's original North Turn Beach Bar and Grill. The Legends of Racing radio show continues with your host, Buzz McKim.
Thank you, everybody. Yeah, here with Rich Combs and Darrell Wolfe. And if you, again, to reiterate, if you want to watch us on the internet, you can go to the Legends of Racing radio show YouTube page and watch it live, or you can go to the Facebook page and watch it an hour later. And then you can watch it from then on Facebook. You can go back all the way to our very first shows. My favorite was Paul Goldsmith.
Oh, wow.
Oh, boy, that was something. He was amazing. We've had some very interesting people. Ari Leyendijk has been on.
Yeah.
Wow.
And
Now, those are legends.
yeah, those are legends. Yeah. Yeah, we didn't give them a shirt either. And one of our favorite people and one of our favorite guests was Mike Helton, and you worked with Mike for a long time, didn't you?
I did.
Yeah, what was he like to deal with?
Well, speaking of legends, holy cow. Mike was, I'll tell you a funny story about Mike. My first interaction, one of my very early memories of Mike was, do you remember the fires, 97?
98.
98.
Mm-hmm.
And that was, so we postponed the July race, and we ran it in
October.
Historian to my right. It's hard to keep up with
There's
him.
something I can't do. I got no control over it. It's an illness.
But I sat in when we made a decision, and this is my PR days back at the Speedway, and we sat in a meeting, and we were talking about how we're going to deal with the move of the race and the core responsibilities of the PR department versus the massive change of moving in a race and all the things that came with President Clinton came, and there was a bunch of stuff going on then. And I remember sitting around a round table in the old building right outside of Bill Jr.'s office with that huge granite, board of directors table. We're all sitting around and strategizing, and I'm just nobody, just a peon on the PR department. And I'm sitting around kind of taking notes and listening, and I'm of course not saying a word. And Mike was in the meeting, and I remember they were talking about how are we going to handle all of these PR responsibilities. And if Mike was sitting here, he doesn't even remember this story. He's got a million other stories about his memories across the sport. But for me, it was impressionable, right? And at the time, I think John Story, I was reporting to John Story, I think. John's over at Sebring now, but he was in the PR department. And somebody said, John, you need to really handle, the president's visit and moving the race and the fire situation. Obviously, this community is going through a lot of turmoil. And Mike chimed in and goes, that's a good decision. Daryl can handle all of the traditional core responsibilities of the track and the speedway from a PR perspective. And I was like, whoa. He knows my name. I mean, seriously, I had no idea he knew my name.
Is that right?
And I was blown away. He even called me by name because I just thought I was some intern sitting over in the corner. So that was my first memory of Mike. And then over the years, obviously, you talk about attributes: trusted, steady, firm. And he's lit me up a couple times when he was not happy with me, and I remember those very well. But just, I mean, what can you say about Mike Hilton? And he's part of the sport. I mean, physically, not worked in the sport or around the sport. He's part of the sport.
Exactly.
And he just have nothing but incredible things to say about him. And Buzz, we're working on a little thing on the side here, and been working closely with Mike, and he loves the history of the sport, appreciates it, and passionate about it, and a caretaker of it. So I get to still interact with him because even though I'm not working full time out there, I'm doing little side stuff here and there, so I get to see him.
That's very good.
And I cherish every moment.
Yeah. He was a racer. He's from Bristol, and he raced a T-Bird for a while years ago in his early days before he was a lawn cutter at Atlanta. He used to drive the tractor, and he worked his way all the way up to what he's got today. So he knows the racing from the racer standpoint too.
I think he appreciates. There's a little bit. I mean, you're right. He worked his way up from early on entry level position to really running the sport, and is on the board of directors, a trusted France advisor, all those things. And there's not many people. I mean, I was a little bit in the same, not at his level, but I did start entry level and kind of work my way up over the years. And I think there's not many of us that did that. So I think there's a little bit. I hope he would somewhat appreciate that a little bit.
I would think so.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. He's that kind of guy for sure. Yeah, that's really neat, and there's just nobody like him.
There isn't, no question.
That's something. So, go ahead.
I'm thinking about. I'm still back on the markets. I thought I was going to get some big information. But what can you say, just sort of a general, on the tracks that you've actually walked away from? Rockingham, for example. Did the market not work out? The track got too old? The management wasn't right? What sort of makes a track become unfavorable?
A lot of things. That's a good question. The fan support is a big one. Community support, public support. I mean, those are big things. Is the track? Are the events profitable? I mean, these are expensive events to put on.
Oh yeah.
If you're putting a lot of capital into these facilities, putting a lot of operational expense into these facilities and events, and you're not getting any return, or in some cases a very poor return, sometimes you have to make tough business decisions. But in the case of some of the tracks, I mean, think about the tracks we've gone back to. So we did get back to Rockingham.
Oh yeah.
We've gone back to North Wilkesboro.
That's right.
People would have said that was impossible. And here's another thing, and it's hard to get on a tangent, but any other sports, think about how many other sports has a sport ever gone back to a facility?
That's right.
Yeah.
It doesn't
Can you name one?
No, they just keep building new, bigger ones.
Yeah, you knock down Yankee Stadium and build a new one. You don't go back to Yankee Stadium.
That's right.
So I think we're the only sport that actually goes back to places that were part of the history of the sport many, many years ago. So Rockingham, North Wilkesboro, places like that. So
Bowman Gray.
Bowman Gray.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Great example.
Yeah.
So I think business ebbs and flows, right? You maybe move away from something and then you kind of go back to it maybe.
Yeah.
So it just has to I keep harping on this. I sound like a broken record. If it aligns to the strategy of what you're trying to accomplish to grow the sport, then you're going to do it.
It seems like they're doing it all right. There doesn't seem to be any clinkers in the whole spectrum.
They're doing a great job.
Yeah.
Well,
That's really
The
working
sport's on a
well.
really nice trajectory.
Big questions. You make a lot of mistakes, but if your successes are greater than your failures, you're on the right track, and that's what you're doing.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's where Big Bill was, where that mentality came about, like with Talladega. He's willing to, throw in the chips and see what he can come up with. and it worked. And he wasn't afraid to take a chance. And I think that kind of follows all down through the different generations. They're not afraid to take a chance.
Yep.
I agree. You have to.
Yeah.
Well, running a business, they always say, who's the entrepreneur in this business?
Right.
Who's the risk taker? And he took the risk and
Yes.
he's built it.
Exactly.
So we're back to, we're not talking about legends of racing. We're talking about the business of racing. And thank you. You're a great guest for that.
Well, thank you very much.
I think we need him back again.
Oh, I'd love to. What do you do next week?
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding.
No, I'd love to come back. I've enjoyed this. It's been an honor to be here with you guys, and it's been fantastic because I do like talking about the business of the sport.
Yep.
And I do have some good stories, other stories that we didn't get to. We can tell maybe in a
cool.
future episode.
Okay. Yeah, we'll definitely be calling you.
Okay.
Yeah, I've got your number. Absolutely. Well, there's a few folks who got to say thank you to for putting this on today. We've got Danny on the board working it there.
Hey,
He's
Danny.
doing a great job there. And Mike with his infamous applause sign right there.
Mikey.
He's really good at it. And Tony, thank you for the question. And Susie, Mrs. Wolfe, it's so good to see you here.
Yeah.
And it's good to see Skip back, too. Good old Skip.
Skipper.
Yeah. And so next week we have Peggy Elder. Her father was Ray Elder, who was the winningest West Coast driver, and he actually won 2 cup races at Riverside as a West Coast driver, which was totally unheard of. And I think he was that kind of guy. But Peggy's coming in all the way from California to be on the show. We thought that was really kind of neat. So we'll see you all next week.
Legends of Racing radio show originates live from the very spot where beach racing began. Racing's original North Turn Beach Bar and Grill.